If you've ever tried using AI to auto-generate Google Documents, you've probably ended up with something like this. Messy, ugly, zero structure. Just a wall of text and something that is completely not usable. And if this is something that you're going to be sending over to your team or your clients, well, good luck, man. They're not going to be using it, right? And this is actually one of the most overlooked bottlenecks in automations where you build really powerful systems, but the outputs look like trash. So your team ends up wasting time cleaning it, fixing headers, adding bullet points, defeating the entire point of the automation, which was to empower them, make them 10 times more efficient. So what if instead of that, your documents look like this, clean, structured, and easy to read? There's a clear visual hierarchy. They're breaking up between texts. We're bolding specific parts. We have bullet points. A document that is ready to share instantly. No editing. And the secret to this is not a new tool. It is not a subscription we have to pay for $50 a month. It is just something known as Markdown format, specifically ATX Markdown format. And it basically lets you structure documents with really simple syntax. So let me show the overall flow number one. We're creating the document in Markdown format, which we then convert to HTML format, and that allows us to create Google Documents because as we can see, Google Documents supports HTML format. So if we come over here and we take a look at the prompt, a single hash means headers. And if we use and double asterisk converts to a bullet point in this case, whereas a single one allows us to italicize it. Whereas a simple dash over here converts it to bullet points. And then when we convert this ATX format to HTML and render it inside a Google document, it looks perfect every single time, just like this. I found this website over here, which is essentially a markdown to HTML and rendered output cheat sheet, you could call it. And without getting too technical over here, we can see that we have something known as markdown, HTML, and the rendered output. So what we want to be doing essentially is we want to use the AI to generate the entire document in markdown format, which we then convert to HTML format, which is then rendered into Google Docs. And this is what we get if we see. With header 1, we get a big size chunky header. And then heading 2 gives us the section title. And if we scroll down further down to the bottom, we can see that we have bold as well, which is for emphasis to bring attention to the key points of a document, whether that be a sales call script, whether that be simple content briefs such as the one we just showed, where a double asterisk over here converts to an HTML with a strong element, which allows us to get the bold text in this case. And the best way to show this is actually inside the Google document itself about how it looks like. So let's say I put a single hash. Then we can see, if we come back over here, we can see now it is heading number 1. If we now enter twice, we can see it's smaller. If we enter it 3 times, we can see now it is even smaller. As we go down the text hierarchy, it becomes bigger to smaller and smaller, bringing lesser emphasis on it. As we can see in this case, now it is heading number 3. Well, let's say we want to be bolding it instead. So what we do is we come here and let's do this. We can see now it's bolded. And if we want it to be italicized, like I said, it's a single asterisk. So we do this and now it is italicized. And this is the exact structure and markdown format guidance we give the GPT later on to generate the exact documents that we saw over here. So let me show you how this works inside of make.com. As we can see, we have a really simple prompt where we're telling it that your task is to take structured input data and turn it into well-formatted markdown documents, which includes every key section relevant to creators, marketers, and content teams. And we can skip over the context and the inputs. But if we come over here now, we're giving it a clear output structure. In this case, we're telling it that you're going to be giving the product title with a single hashtag, allowing us to, if we come back over here, translate it to the title of the page. And then if we come back over here, we can see that we have the product summary. And this is something interesting. And if we come over here, we can see we have something known as add NBSP. So if we come over here and just search add NBSP line break, we can see that essentially add NBSP translates to a break statement, which allows us to create a line break, which is actually something that's really useful because now we have breaks between the spaces. As we can see, we have a break over here between the viral song and the content type. And it just makes the information a lot more digestible. It makes it production grade ready for businesses. It allows the team to be empowered and be a lot more efficient with the time as they can quickly scan through a document in this case. And then what we have is another really interesting element is this, the triple dash, or that's what I like to call it. And that is what actually allows us to create different sections in a document. Whereas you can see over here, we just have basic summary about the specific product in this case. Over here, we have the hook and everything related to the script writing. Over here, we have the audience avatar and insights. And here we have the captions, SEO, and pro tips. So this again lets us break up the document by visual hierarchy once again, by just using these little elements such as line breaks, heading tags, bolds, italics, bullet points, and NBSPs, which is pacing, to just make the information a lot more digestible from the human side of things. Let's give this a run actually, and let me show you how this looks like, the output over here. So we're just reading a simple record in Airtable over here, and then we're going to be passing that into GPT in this case. where it's just going to generate all the different elements of the product, which could be the hook, the product idea, and just all information was scraped and enriched previously in the past. And as we can see, let's give it a sec. And what we do once we generate the document in Markdown format, we then use the make.com module, which is just Markdown to HTML. So all it does is it takes these different types of elements that we've been given and received actually in Markdown, and it just converts it to HTML, which allows it to be then rendered in the Google document module and allows it to be rendered perfectly. Okay, so as we can see, this is the output we received, and this is exactly like we discussed earlier, where we have a single hashtag to represent a heading number 1, where it's going to be bolded since it has a double asterisk. And then we have the product summary, which is just going to be bolded. We have the viral songs, which is just going to be bolded, as we can see. Then we have the @NBSP, so that's going to ensure that we have a line break. And this thing over here is going to ensure that we can separate our sections, section by section. So let's do this actually. I want to test out the entire system, so let's just copy the entire thing. And let's add a module over here so we don't have to keep running the entire thing over and over again. Let's call it ATX format, and let's save this over here. So now what we can do is we can connect this over here. Let's just run this part so we can see how the Markdown format actually looks like. And let's add this over here. And in the Google document, let's have testing. And let's say save it over here. So let's give this a run now. So what we're doing over here is we're directly passing in the output of the ATX format into HTML conversion. And let's take a look at what this looks like. So as we can see, this is completely Markdown format now. As we can see, we have the different headings, we have the strong, we have the paragraphs. If we scroll down, we can see we have heading number 3, we have a list over here, and this is what's actually going to allow us to create bullet points. And if we give this a close, and let's check out what the document generated is. So let's click on this and let's open it up. So yeah, as we can see, this is exactly how we did it and it's something that's incredibly simple, right? We're not using another SaaS tool, or we're not paying for another subscription that's going to take $50 a month, that's unreliable, going to stop working all of a sudden because we didn't renew our subscription. This is just something that allows us to create scalable automations that is actually valuable to teams and used by the team members, that allows them to expedite their work output, become more productive rather than slowing them down, editing manual spreadsheets and then getting confused and just slowing them down. So even though it's incredibly simple, this isn't just clean formatting. It makes your systems more scalable, team-friendly, no wasted time fixing ugly outputs, and ready for client-facing documents, be it contracts, reports, content briefs, anything. Everyone often talks about AI automations, but I don't see too many people often talk about, the little tricks here and there that actually go into making them incredibly useful and being adopted by companies and team members of more than 100, 500 members. So this is exactly using, as we saw over here, how you go from creating messy AI outputs to production-ready, clean systems at scale. So this is just a clean little trick that I use pretty often myself in my automations, and I thought I'd share it. So cheers, guys.